You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Lou Need Lewis, and today I have the honor of introducing a very kind, a very, very special man to the show, Bryan Clayton. He is CEO and co-founder of GreenPal, an online marketplace that connects homeowners with local lawn care professionals. GreenPal has been called the Uber for lawn care by Entrepreneur magazine and has over 200,000 active users, completing thousands and thousands of transactions each day. Now, before starting GreenPal, Bryan founded Peachtree Inc., one of the largest landscaping companies in the state of Tennessee, growing it to over $10 million a year in annual revenue before it was acquired by Lusa Holdings in 2013. This is very fascinating. I am looking forward to hearing about Uber for lawn care. With no further ado, Bryan, welcome to the show.
Dr. Lanid, thanks for having me on. Great to be here.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. I love what you're doing, and it makes it so accessible, I can imagine, for homeowners. And so before we dive right into that, tell us a little bit about your journey here thus far.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, I'm CEO, co-founder of a company called GreenPal, which in a sentence is the Uber for lawn mowing. So if you're a homeowner, you need to get your lawn mowed rather than calling around on Craigslist or Yelp or Facebook. You can just download our app and somebody will come out and mow your yard for you in minutes. Before GreenPal, I actually had a landscaping business that I started in high school. I started mowing yards and make extra cash in high school. And I discovered something about myself, that I was wired to love entrepreneurship, that I loved being in charge of my own destiny, that business ownership was just something that I just got. It clicked with me. And so I stuck with that. I kept mowing yards all through high school, all through college. And when I graduated, the decision was I going to be a lawn guy the rest of my life. I didn't really want to be a lawn guy, but I decided, hey, let's just see how far this business can take me. And I made a little business plan. And over a 15-year period of time, I built that little lawn mowing business into a real landscaping company with over 150 employees and got it over $10 million a year in revenue over a 15-year period. In 2013, that business was acquired by one of the largest landscaping companies in the United States. And so growing that business just from me and like a little push mower to me and 90 trucks going out every day, I learned a lot about how to get a business going. And after I sold it, I retired. I didn't have to work anymore. And it was nice, but I got bored. And I thought, okay, well, what now? Now I want to start an app. I want to start a technology company. And luckily, I didn't know what I didn't know. It was almost like naivety as an asset. And I just got started. And here we are 8-9 years later with GreenPal. We're an 8-year overnight success. Several 100,000 people using the app, doing $20 million a year in revenue. And so I've spent 21 years in entrepreneurship in kind of one industry. And I've seen it from every angle you can see it from.
Yeah. And that's just mowing lawns and being able to build it to $10 million a year. That certainly takes tenacity, but it goes to show you, if you have an idea and you believe in it, right? You have insight and you have perseverance, it can become a reality.
Absolutely. And one other thing is, I think there is some sort of correlation between the least sexy your idea, the least exciting, the least glamorous, the better your chances of success, because the really exciting and glamorous and I guess in vogue businesses that might seem appealing to everybody are usually overly competitive and usually have everybody chasing after what little opportunity there is. Whereas if you go for a business that necessarily might not be as glamorous, you can kind of take a slow and low approach and just really work hard over a long haul and build something profitable from scratch, even if you don't have access to outside capital. That's how it worked out for me.
Yeah, because then it puts you in a niche. You become very special and very niche in what you do. And then you create your own marketplace, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we've done with GreenPal. We have focused on just this one household chore that most people have to get done, and just do that better than anybody else in the world. And that's been our strategy. Do one thing better than anybody else. And I think no matter what business you're in, that's really going to have to be the way you approach it. You're going to have to be better at one thing than your competition so you can stand out. It doesn't matter if you have a restaurant, a construction company, a barber shop. You have to really resonate with your clients in one particular way better than your competition in your marketplace.
Yeah, and you've been able to do both, Bryan. You were doing the work yourself, and now you have to hire or have those people sign up on the app, and they have to be qualified because they're an extension of you and the company's name, right? So now you have to hire individuals that are going to do quality work. So tell us about that process for you.
Yeah, that was something that I was confronted with starting my second company, GreenPal. There's a big difference between running a traditional style business. Landscaping company is traditional and it's a blue collar business, and it's very straightforward in the way that you can approach it. Yeah, it's hard. You're going to have to work hard, but the playbook has kind of already been written, and you can just do it better than others. When I started GreenPal, I was inventing a brand new product, inventing a brand new experience that did not exist, and I didn't really understand how much more difficult that is. I didn't understand the complexities around that. And so I guess it was probably year 1 or 2 that I was confronted with that reality. It's like, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be because these contractors, these lawn care services are not my employees. Mm-hmm. They don't work for me. I'm building a product that they use that is a marketplace they have access to. And through that, I have to be able to control the quality. I have to screen out the contractors that aren't so good. I have to promote the ones that are good. So then homeowners that hire them get a good experience. And so I didn't understand how difficult that was going to be in terms of orchestrating a delicate balance between the needs and desires of the contractors and also the needs and wants of the homeowners that are hiring them. It took a long time to figure it out. And I think what I learned was you just start small and you just figure it out as you go. Try to get something in the hands of customers as quick as you can, because it doesn't matter how much you plan, how long you plan, like all of that stuff is just assumptions. You really have no clue as to what's going to work until you get something in the hands of customers. It's that Mike Tyson quote, like everybody has a plan until they get punched in the nose. It's the same way with business. Like you have to get something out there in the hands of customers so you can figure out what the heck it is you're doing. And that's how we figured it out with GreenPal over a decade.
Yeah, I love that. You got to start. You got to start, and then you got to learn along the way, because once you start getting customer feedback, then you can tweak it along the way to build a better product.
Exactly.
I'm curious about the other aspect of it, and that is getting clientele, getting in front of the homeowners and building that trust factor, right? So that they can actually start using your the app.
Yeah, it's like a chicken and egg problem when you have a marketplace like this. Do you start with the contractors? Do you start with the homeowners? And the reality is you kind of have to do both at the same time. And for us, we have to do both in every city that we operate in. So a couple of things that we did that increased our chances of success was we focused on just one city. We live in Nashville. My co-founders and I live in Nashville, Tennessee. And so we spent 4 years just in Nashville trying to figure out how the product needed to work. How did we balance the needs of both sides of the marketplace? How did we recruit or contractors, and how did we recruit homeowners? And it took a long time to figure that out. And we hand cranked it in the early days. We would cold call contractors all day long off of Craigslist and pitch on the idea of using our app, and we would get probably, I don't know, one out of every 20 or 30 calls, which is pretty good. If you only get told no 99 times, you're onto something. Yeah. And so that's how we got the contractors. And in the early days, we marketed the homeowners by passing out door hangers. We literally just walked around Nashville, Tennessee for 6 months, passed out 300,000 door hangers, and that's how we got the first few hundred people to use the product. And while that wasn't a scalable acquisition strategy, it wasn't a scalable way to get homeowners. It was a way that we could get the first few hundred. So then we could figure out what the heck it was we were doing. And so we would meet with every single one of these consumers that use our product that would meet with us. And we would ask them as many open-ended questions as they would let us. Things like, how do you usually find a lawn care service? What did you expect the app to do? Where were you let down from the app? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And we got all kinds of insight when we did that to figure out how to plot our course and how to plot what it was we were trying to do. And one of the key insights that we got was, in the early days, the product really sucked, and we knew it sucked, but we saw disappointment. We saw these people were let down, but we never heard that I don't need this.
Mm-hmm.
They never once said, I don't want this. Like, they wanted it to work. And so that was validation to keep going. And along the way, we figured out, okay, well, this is where we got to improve it. This is what we have to fix. This is how we can better market to homeowners. This is how we can better screen out contractors. So getting in the trenches and getting what they call that experiential wisdom, the wisdom of actually like learning from failures is the only way you can kind of get one of these things going from scratch.
Yeah, failing forward and learning from it.
Exactly.
I was listening to something earlier today. I was doing my workout, and it says, when you fail, people tell you to get back up, to quit, dust yourself off and get back up. And this one entrepreneur says, you know what? Don't get back up. Stay down there for a little bit, a minute.
Yeah,
or two.
exactly.
Stay down there for a week. Stay down there for a month. Learn why you failed, why you're down here. That way, when you get up, you're stronger. You're better.
It's tough because entrepreneurship, business ownership is full of all sorts of dichotomies. And that's one of them. It's like, do you just beat your head against the wall for a decade and hope to find the way? Or do you spend a long time being analytical and measured and learning and looking at the data? Like, which is it? Like, do you stay down or do you get back up? And I think it's both. A lot of times it's both. And you really have to do both of these things that don't make sense. Another one is, you have to have this huge, audacious vision to build something big and profitable and great. But you also have to think and act very, 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 very small over a long haul to get something going, to get the momentum going. So it's both. So I think a lot of these things are not or, they're and. Mm-hmm. And yeah, fail fast, but also take some time and learn from the failures, because that's how you figure out what's going to work.
Right. And you got to be intuitive enough to know when and which one to apply.
Yeah. And how do you learn that intuition? The way you learn it is just to get in there and start doing it.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's unravel that a bit. Intuition. Let's talk about how can one fester it? How can one grow that small, quiet voice within?
Yeah, a lot of it does come from experience. One of my favorite quotes is that good judgment comes from experience, and good experience comes from poor judgment. And so you have to get in there, make the mistakes, learn along the way over a long period of time, and you develop it. And so a lot of times there really is no overnight success. You look at these founders that might have built something huge in seemingly 2 or 3 years. And what you don't realize is that they already had 2 or 3 companies that may have crashed and burned or didn't really do a whole lot. And then you're not really looking at 3 years. You're always looking at 7, 10, 15, as much as 20 years of experience. And that's where that intuition comes from. And really in the early days of starting something, that's all you have to go on as the founder. You have your gut, you have your intuition, you have the feedback from the handful of customers that you have, and you have to synthesize that into the way forward, because you don't have the data. You don't have the analytics yet. You don't have all the evidence to make the right decision. You really do have to go with your gut. And then as time goes on, you can balance that intuition with hard data, and you need to, because the data always speaks the truth. But in the early days, it's I coach founders as a hobby in Nashville where I live, and they'll be doing A/B testing and multivariate testing when they have 100 visitors to the website a month. And I'm like, you don't need 3% gains. You need an order of magnitude of more people coming to this website. That's not your problem right now. So it's these things are dynamic. They move along a spectrum as time goes on. In the early days, it is all about gut intuition, and a lot of that is just baked into your experience as the founder, and maybe some mentors that you have, and try to learn from as many people as you can. But the only way to learn is get in there and just roll up your sleeves and do it.
Yeah, and mentorship is very handy, because sometimes it's like shooting in the dark. You feel like am I doing this right? How am I doing? You're questioning yourself and asking yourself how you're doing, but you have no idea.
Exactly. Mentors is a highly valuable asset, but it's also really tough, because a lot of times, especially these days, there's just so many coaches, so many business coaches, so many online resources, so many courses. How do you know what's good? And I think a lot of new founders rush to try to go get a mentor, when in fact, that mentor relationship needs to happen organically. And the main thing is you need to be getting mentored from somebody who is doing or has already done what it is you're trying to do. Right. A lot of times new founders, naive ones, will go and try to get a coach, and that coach has never done anything. And it's like, that's not going to be good advice. And so what's worked for me when I've hit these lulls where it's like, man, I'm trying to build a marketplace. It's an app. Like nobody in Nashville's ever done this sort of thing. How do I get good mentors? And rather than just like hitting a bunch of people up on LinkedIn, I would just YouTube University, and I would just spend hours like just going over like all of the content of people talking about what it is I'm trying to do, and just kind of sift through the good quality advice and the stuff that's not so good. And over time, try to like develop a relationship with these people asynchronously. Like I'm consuming everything they're putting out. And so I've got over the last 10 years, probably a dozen, maybe even 20 people who I've learned an insane amount of information from who've never met me. I've never met them, but I'm reading every blog post that they're putting out. I'm reading every conference that they've ever spoken at. I'm watching every interview that they've ever done on YouTube. And that's helped me out a lot, much more than just like if I could hit somebody up in my town who doesn't necessarily have the experience that I need and hasn't done what it is I'm trying to do. That's a waste of everybody's time. But if somebody's talking about that at a conference, is giving a keynote about how they got Uber from 1 million in revenue to 10, that's the stuff I need to be learning. That's the mentorship that I seek out.
Yeah, no, I love that you put YouTube University in there. I thought I was the only one that called it that.
I don't know where I heard that, but that, man, I tell you, I've spent a decade in YouTube University. And the challenging thing with YouTube University is it's like, you got to get through 90% of the crap to find the 10% that's gold. But once you find it, you can just dial in and almost listen to nothing else, because you don't want to like cloud that. So I think if you're going to be a successful founder, a successful business owner, like your living room is going to become a classroom. Your car is going to become a mobile classroom. There just simply isn't enough time in the week to learn this stuff. And so you're going to have to find time to listen to it and learn.
Multitask.
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. YouTube University, and it's free. It's free. And then it's niche. You can actually weed out the gunk, as you say, to find the goal, to find what you're looking for, and just focus on it, because what you focus on will grow, right? That's how you're going to evolve. Your mindset's going to grow, and you're going to learn some stuff from these individuals who are putting out just free content, generously free content. So I'm glad you brought that up. Bryan, tell me, what is the goal with GreenPal? Are you taking it out of Tennessee? What's the goal?
So GreenPal is nationwide now. I guess year 4 or 5. We've been at this for about a decade. Year 4 or 5, we started figuring out what worked and started expanding into other cities. So we're nationwide now, doing multiple 8 figures a year in revenue. But, it's Jeff Bezos' quote, it's still day one. It still feels like day one. We've got a long, long, long way to go in terms of becoming like the ubiquitous default way you get this chore done. So until we're in the conversation with DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates, Airbnb, like just the default way you do chore, we're not done. And another thing is, when I sold my first business, I was able to kind of do what I wanted to do. And this is what I want to do. I'm having fun running this company. I've got a team of 30 something people, and all of them are smarter than me in some way. And it's a lot of fun running this business. So I'm going to keep running it till it's not fun anymore. And I don't know when that is, but I'm having a ball.
Tell me about occupation. Are you remotely working now? Or do you have an office in Nashville?
Yeah, we got a little office in Nashville where myself and 2 of my co-founders kind of just work out of. And then everybody else is fully distributed. We have everybody all over the United States and all over the world. And for us, it works. My first company was 150 people. And so I didn't really have a strong desire to build like a huge headcount. Again, with a digital business like this, we can work all over the world. I'm not like completely sold that remote is the best way, but it does work for us. And so I think it's like, you have to figure out what works for your company. How do you get stuff done? If everybody's got to be in one room, so be it. But for us, the fully remote and distributed model works.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because people are wondering if they should open up an office space or just keep it remote. Overhead is less.
Here's a good quote, and it's something to consider. Like, it's easy to say, yeah, no, the remote's better. But do you think the iPhone could have been built over Zoom? No. And so it's like, on the one hand, it is a lot more convenient for everybody and it is more efficient, and then you save on office space. But on the other hand, there's certain things that everybody's got to be in a room. And I think as the founder, you have to make that call.
Yeah, good point. So let's jump right into it. How do you get up, dress up, and show up? Tell us about your morning routine.
I made a mistake early on starting my second business. You're going to have to run really hard for a long time to get one of these things going from scratch. And so, 4 or 5 years, I didn't exercise. I just kind of ate garbage and worked 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day. And while it was what was needed at the time to get the business going, my personal health deteriorated and I gained a lot of weight. I got close to 300 pounds and I started just feeling awful. And as it turns out, you can't just like work 7 days a week and eat ramen noodles for 6 years. You got to do that at a certain point in time. You got to do that for maybe a year or two, but you can't, it's not sustainable. And so that hit me and I didn't know what to do. And my co-founder said, well, I'm going to sign up for the full marathon, which was like in 5 months from that point. And I thought, wow, man, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to sign up. And so I never ran a mile. And so he and I signed up for the full marathon and we just did the training and I learned a lot doing that. I learned that you really do have to take care of your vessel. You got to take care of your body. It's almost like your responsibility to like sharpen your saw, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so that discipline just got baked into me when we did that first marathon. And so every morning, first thing, it's not even like a question. I get up and I'm doing something to work out my body just so I can stay in shape. And then also I noticed that it unlocks a better fuel for the day for me. And so usually like 6 a.m., maybe 5 a.m., I'm doing some sort of HIIT workout or some sort of 3 or 4 or 5 mile run. And that kind of unlocks like a sustainable energy source throughout the day. And then after that, nothing magical. I think my superpower is consistency. Mm-hmm. And so after getting the momentum going on this business, I don't work 7 days a week anymore, but I do work 5 and 6. And it's my goal to get in, work the routine and be consistent about it and do it for 5 and 6 days a week. And also not try to do the 12-hour days anymore, just try to get 6 good hours. Mm-hmm. That works for me now. Now, I don't want people listening to this to think, oh, he's saying that you can start a $20 million a year business and only work 5 hours a day. That's not true. The first 3 or 4 years, you're going to have to work those 10, 12-hour days. But after you start getting some momentum going, you can reinvest your time a little bit better, a little more high leverage and work quality hours. Whereas in the early days, there just isn't enough time. You have to work on the business. You have to work in the business. You have to work on yourself. And so you got to work the 10, 15-hour days in the first 2 or 3 years. So I think it's dynamic. And for me, it has been. That's how I've experienced it.
It definitely has to be fluid. I ran a marathon as well. So I understand when you said that is baked into you because those 20 mile on a Saturday morning just for practicing is no fun.
No, it's all kinds of parallels to business ownership too. You see these goofy people and I guess I'm one of them that they're at the stoplight and they're jogging in place and I wonder why they're doing that. And then you run a marathon, you realize, well, during the training, it's actually harder to stop. Mm-hmm. And then restart than just to keep going. And that's like a parallel to business. Keeping that momentum going is huge. And so there's all kinds of neat little parallels to business ownership and running a marathon and discipline and consistency and just doing the little things day in, day out. They add up and it's almost like principles of life, I guess.
Yeah, you put it so well. I can't even chime in here. I'm just going to leave it at that because the listeners will get it. So tell us about how can we connect with you? How can we follow you along and learn from your story more?
Yeah. Anybody in the United States listening to this doesn't want to mow your own yard, just download GreenPal in the App Store or Play Store. And anybody wants to reach out to me, I put all of my effort in Instagram. So you can hit me up there. It's Bryan Clayton. Follow and I'll follow you back and shoot me a DM. I'll respond there.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's really insightful. I mean, you covered so much today, Bryan, about the parallel from running a marathon. You got to keep going. You can't stop because it takes more energy to start again once you stop. I love that. It is well put. And your morning routine, you got to get up and actually work and move the body. That gives you that sustainability for the rest of the day. Because how else are you going to work 12-hour days? You need that energy. People think, okay, I'm too tired to work out. It gives you more energy when you do it. It gives you more time. So that's the power behind it. I'm really, really excited and thrilled that you came on to share with us today, Bryan. Thank you so much.
Dr. Lunid, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.
Excellent.
All right, right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,